Ah, Davide here. And on today's episode, a day in the life of the impertinent collector. Yes, I will show you what happened to me within 24 hours, where basically everything went wrong. Yes, but everything also fits in a grand scheme of things when there is, or one has to believe, some sort of celestial design. And if there isn't, we have to take what the real world thrown at us. But also, today's episode is something related to a social expectation. These dance that we have to play, when we are dealing with other people. And everything started in my case when a posh friend of mine invited me for dinner. It what in reality, and is always in his case, was a social trap. And so, a social trap because everybody had to bring a dish. Hey, I'm a foodie. I love cooking. And may I say, I'm pretty good at it. One day, maybe you meet me in person and you get to judge by yourself. Or, better still, you let your palate and your senses judge us. But let's not lose focus like we always do. Okay? So, I have decided to cook a fantastic recipe. Pigeons à l'ancienne. And so I ordered them from my trusted butcher. And I sent a friend of mine to pick them up because I couldn't go myself. And what happened there is that when he went to pick them up, he immediately realized that they were very good quality. And in fact, he told them that most likely I wouldn't be happy with what he was bringing home. But the owner was in fact quite rude and he had to leave with these pigeons. Imagine my shock when I did receive the pigeon and I really realized that the quality was substandard. Imagine substandard pigeon that already requires some sort of an acquired taste for a special dinner when everybody is gonna be under the microscope. I was furious. Doesn't matter, I went to Google and I left him a nasty review. And so I said, not only you giving me a lower quality product, but you are the type of business owner that would treat the client differently depending if they are in person or one of his assistants come and pick up the goods. And if I had been there, you would have been very nice to me and you would have immediately fixed it on the spot. But because I sent my friend, you thought you could get away with it. Let me tell you, I will not buy from you ever again, and I warn any customers not to do business with you. Okay, that was the start of my day. Eventually, I was able to get my pigeon from somebody else. And so, if you want to know the recipe, you have to cut the pigeon in half. And what I also do, I let for 24 hours a bunch of herbs marinate in goat milk. Would you believe it? Then when I have the pigeon, I cover them in the best of sea salt and a finely grinded powder of secret spices. Then in a pot, I fry pork fat with garlic. When the fat is completely melted, I put the pigeon inside and I roll them on the skin until they get a golden color. Then I pour the goat milk that has been marinated with the herbs on top of it. I drop the herbs at the bottom of the pot, and I put the pot into an enclosed oven like a pizza oven until the pigeons are done. And done they were, and they were perfect. Except that at the dinner, somebody brought lobster, somebody bought caviar, somebody bought, the stuff that people know, that they have big names. So my pigeons basically got unnoticed. Well, such is life. Then, somehow in the middle of the night, the host came up with the most ridiculous joke. A joke that it wasn't even a joke. But you see what such a convention does to people? Here is the joke. An old dog walks into a bar and say, "Since I can't see much, I'm gonna help myself." Let me tell you, I was there waiting for the punchline, but there was no punchline. And everybody was laughing. They thought it was like incredibly funny. Of course, because of the host, you have to pretend that whatever he says is funny, whatever he does is perfect. You have to kiss his hand. And I say the hand not to say, something else. But there it is. We know the rules. Very boring dinner, but good, I have to do it, It's somehow good to keep your social skills polished. And then at night, I went home and I basically went to bed. And in my sleep, I had this horrendous nightmare. And the nightmare was at me back at primary school, in front of the blackboard, and I have been punished. And I was writing on the board the following words: water, salt, meat, sand, sun, moon, fish, and repeating them over and over again. And as the blackboard was filled with all these words repeated over and over again, I was given another board, but this time smaller. I filled that board again, and the board got replaced by a smaller one. And these boards get smaller and smaller, and I was struggling to write and to make the word readable. But it was getting smaller and smaller until the board became impossibly small. And that's when I woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Yes, that is a day. But how has that to do with my collection? Well, here comes the conclusion. Nothing of what I said to you did really happen to me, or anybody that I know for that matter. And also, it's not something happened last week, last month, or last year. But it is absolutely true. And how do we know that it's true? Because it has been fatally recorded in something identical to this: a Sumerian clay tablet with cuneiform writing, found most likely, in my case, in the city of Ur, in what is now modern Iraq. And they found thousands of this tablet, all inscribed both sides with the smallest of reeds when the clay was soft, and then they would get baked, and that's how the record would stay there forever. Not that they knew that it would be staying forever back then when they copied them. And so, where did my story go wrong? Well, the shop, the boss, the business owner didn't really give me pigeons, right? It's about copper. But that complaint is absolutely true. Of course, not on Google review, but within the whole library of Huo. Somebody called Nani filed this complaint about this merchant who provided copper bars that were of a lower quality simply because the person who picked them up was his assistant and not himself. And he specifically said, I will not buy from you ever again, and I warn anybody from doing business with you. Incredible. As for my pigeons, the recipe is very much as I recounted it in my story. Imagine. Now we are talking at something that is between 5,000 to 4,000 years old. That's how old is this tablet. And so, as for the joke is a joke within the joke. The joke, in effect, exactly as I said it, is not funny. But what is funny is that the archaeologists couldn't fully translate some of the key words, they'd never seen them before. And so they trying different interpretation. But what they know that is a joke. They know that there is this old dog that goes inside a bar. But they're trying to construct something that makes sense. And it's a big argument within the community in what the correct translation is to make the joke, in effect, funny. And finally, as for my nightmare, let me tell you, the young apprentice within the priesthood, sometime 8, sometime 10, no older than 11 years old, have to learn how to write on the tablet within the cuneiform language. And as you can guess, some had better writing than the others. And so a number of keywords, when they were weak, they have to be repeated on the tablets over and over and over and over and over again. And they discover a cache full of these hundreds and hundreds of tablets of these kids that have to repeat the same words with the instruction from the teacher, some sort of a punishment. And let me tell you, it didn't happen to me, but I felt that it could have well happened to me if I found myself living there 5,000 years ago. My writing on the board has always been like horrendous. My own handwriting is like horrendous. And so, imagine, I used to go when I was living in London, from time to time to the British Museum on a Saturday. They were doing some lecture on some of the artifacts that they had. They had a big professor, and they would do a lecture for free. And so normally you didn't have many people who would go, but you will have like 10, 12 people of like people that were really interested. And so I went a number of times. Imagine the surprise. Once again, when at the end of one of this lecture, very much about Babylon, I took my little tablet from the pocket and I asked the professor, can I show you something? Now, do you think this is original? and I told him how I acquired this through a merchant that was selling stuff to my mom. But this is not the type of stuff that my mom would buy. But he showed that to him. He showed that to her. And she was totally taken. And I was there. We are talking about over 40 years ago. And I said, "Oh, Mom, can I have it? Can I have it?" And she got it for me. And I didn't even have to pay her with my savings. Maybe it was a gift from my mommy. But here it is. I had this tablet. This guy, he says, "I can't really comment without further analysis, but hearing your story and your family background and what I see with my own eyes, I can tell you that it's 99.9% authentic." And now let's conclude this video with some lesson learned. Now, I don't really know what is written on my clay tablet. And in fact, there is a development with the AI, where now they're going through thousands and thousands of these tablets, hoping that the AI will be successfully able to translate immediately, because they got a huge collection. We are talking about 20, 30, 40, 50,000 of this small tablet. And so imagine yourself, and let's say that somebody finds something that you wrote 5,000 years ago. What do you want that to be? Do you want that to be a piece of poetry? Do you want that to be a love letter? Or do you want to be a shopping list? A note that you wrote to your husband? "Screw you, I'm done with you." Think about it. This could be your legacy. But this is certainly one of the most incredible artifacts that is part of my collection. And in fact, I can positively confirm that this is the oldest item in my collection, written in either Sumerian or Akkadian around 4,500 years ago. And one day I will unlock the writing. The satisfaction, the pleasure to be a collector. Who cares what society wants from us, what they think about us? Go for what makes you happy, even if it's a short-term burst of happiness. And this is me, Davide, the Impertinent Collector, always asking you, nearly begging you for a like, a comment, and to know more, subscribe. You might not be able to find me again.